What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, we wanted to bring another reaction video here for you guys. Been trying to do a lot more of that recently. A lot of you guys seem to really enjoy the reactions we give of some of these other things. And, we like to give reactions to some people because, it's good to spread the word out there of other people. And this one comes from the Pat McAfee show. Fantastic interview today with Jeff Saturday after his first win with the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of you may or may not know, Jeff Saturday and Pat McAfee actually did play with each other at one point. They were actually teammates at the beginning of Pat McAfee's career as towards the end of Jeff Saturday's career. So these two definitely know each other from being in the same building. So it definitely leads to a great conversation. And again, shout out to Pat McAfee as well. You guys may or may not remember, he was in our live stream the other day. So shout out to him. And again, shout out to Pat McAfee doing fantastic things on YouTube and everything else. But we're going to react to this real quick, guys. This is him talking to Jeff Saturday of the Indianapolis Colts after this win. Let's hear what they had to say.
In the horseshoe and wants the best out of the horseshoe. That's why Jim Irsay called him in the middle of the game 1 week and 1 day ago and said, "What are you seeing?" Ladies and gentlemen, the interim head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday.
Yeah! I do love that Pat always makes sure to put emphasis on the word interim. Always puts emphasis on that because some people seem to forget that, but let's continue.
What's up, dude?
What's up, bro? Let me just tell you, if I could take you everywhere with me as a hype man, dude, I mean, I know I can't afford you, but if I could, I would totally bring you. There's not a man who can make another man feel that good about himself besides you, dude. I appreciate it.
Well, you deserve it, man. And I've been battling for you on these internet streets, and I know that you haven't known that because you've been so focused, which is what a head coach of an NFL team has to be. But let me just ask you how you're feeling right now. You're undefeated. There's no way you could have expected it. In your press conference, I know you said you were drinking from a fire hydrant or whatever. There was a lot coming in. You hadn't even had an offensive coordinator yet. This was on Tuesday. You hired Parks Frazier, 30-year-old. Great job, Parks. Great job, Parks. Yeah. But you give a victory Monday to the boys. I think it's so you can figure more shit out before they get back in the building. But how are you feeling right now in that first week? Just describe it pretty much to us if you could.
Yeah, no, man. It really was like drinking from a fire hydrant. It was fast and furious. A lot of decisions to be made. But here's the deal, man. All the guys that were here, they stepped up in an enormous way. Gus on the defensive side, Bubba with the special teams, and then from an offensive perspective, you're down basically two coaches / coordinators, right? Frank was calling it, and Marcus Brady, who was doing all the installation leading into. So I really taxed those guys offensively, especially, and so that was part of the victory Monday, right, is to be able to get them back in the building, let things kind of settle. But as far as execution of it, I made some small changes and tweaks to practice schedules and schedules in general. I tried to keep as much kind of in line for what roles guys were playing and what expectations were going to be for them on Sunday and how the communication was going to occur. But again, it's just a matter of process, and I feel strongly about process and putting it in place. And those guys, man, they executed it to perfection. I've described it as an orchestra. Like when I watched it happen and listening to it on the headset and the communication, we had a couple bumps in the road, but man, all in all, it was really well done.
How much were you a part of the strategy going in? Because obviously the offensive line and Jonathan Taylor looked vastly different than they had the rest of the season. I assume that was a part of the conversation you had with Jim in the middle of the Patriots game in which he called you, but it was real. Jonathan Taylor was an MVP candidate last year. This year, not at all. The offensive line becomes the highest paid offensive line in the league because they were really good. This year, not at all. Right. Did you make any tweaks? Did you feel hands-on, or is that what you're going to do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I probably spend, 85% of my time in the offensive room right now, listen, there's not a whole lot I'm gonna be able to tell Gus or Fox or the rest of those guys in that room who've been coaching, 30 plus years or however long they've been coaching, and we just talk strategy and Gus is great about coming in and explaining to me why he's doing what he's doing, and do I have any hesitation about it, and Bubba the same way. But offensively, those are the meetings that I've been in, and sitting in there, and hopefully my influence and what my expectations are. And again, we significantly reduced what we were going to do, and understanding that we're going to do maybe fewer things, but we're going to do those fewer things exceptionally well. And I felt like I armed our guys from a coaching staff perspective and players. Hey man, this is the call. And I'll be very frank, I called our offensive line out. And hey man, like
we're gonna stop it real quick because he's about to make a point here, which we're gonna discuss in further detail here in a second. And I think that it's great that he talked about, when talking about strategy, he mentions that he's been in the offensive room the majority of the time. That's where Jeff Saturday understands. He's not as much of the defensive guy, so he listens to what the defensive guys have to say. They ask for his input. He gives it. They move on. But, the offense is how things go. And I liked what he said about dumbing things down a little bit. It's kind of what that is, we're not doing as many things now, but we're going to make sure the few things that we are doing, we're going to make sure that we do those right. That's the whole point. And I think that's what the thing is, right, Cody? Getting back to basics, understanding how to play the game of football at a more simplified level. It feels great to hear him say that and understanding that's his strategy.
Yeah, how many times have we said, especially like the last couple of years, Colts just outsmarted themselves, right? Like how many times did they did a lot of things, but did they do anything particularly well this year? No, not really, and I like that idea of like, we're not going to, try to do 100 things, and do them all poorly. No, we're going to reduce it to a couple things. We're going to simplify it down, make it easy for our players. Like, hey, we're going to focus on these things to do it to the best of our ability. Like, that's what I think you have to do to be a good football team, right? You don't, obviously strategy and play calling and stuff like that. And, being creative, that stuff's important. But at the end of the day, if you can't come back and do the fundamental things well, you're not, I don't care how smart you are, how much you out scheme another team. Like if you can't block, pass block, or run block, or, not turn the ball over, like it doesn't matter how good your strategy is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like that. I like that Jeff's like, we're just getting back to the basics, becoming true to who we are and who we know we are.
Yep.
And that's just a breath of fresh air because this team has not done that this year.
Absolutely.
Armed our guys from a coaching staff perspective and players. Hey man, this is the call. And I'll be very frank, I called our offensive line out. And hey man, like this is on you, right? Here's the expectations of what you as players have to have. And those guys, man, they met it. There was no back down in them, and they appreciated the challenge. And you see JT, like that kid, he's special, and touches matter for him, and getting the run game going. But again, it's kind of all in for everybody. Is how do we balance this? And I want to make sure that everybody has input, and everybody did, man. And it was, but. You've been with me in the locker room.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So Jeff.
Yeah, so again, he said, and Pat's going to allude to this, which I appreciate because he knows from firsthand experience. He knows this guy. He knows how he operates and knows how he works. And he's about to elaborate that here in a second. But you heard Jeff Saturday say it. I called our O-line out. Remember, Cody, just last week, when Frank Reich, when we lost, they said, I'm not going to point out the offensive line. I'm just going to hope that we can figure things out. And, I'm not going to put them on the spot. Like we said, Frank, we know what the problem is. You can't block, and whether run blocking or pass blocking, and it's not working. Call it out. Say what the problem is. At least tell us that you acknowledge that there's a huge problem here with an offensive line that up to this year has never had a problem like this. And now all of a sudden it's a huge problem. And Jeff Saturday coming out saying, hey man, listen, this crap can't stand no more, man. We know what you're capable of. Like, we know what you're capable of. Like, this is not the standard that Chris Ballard is setting up for you guys when he built this offensive line of you five people, right? He brought you five in here to do your job and is paying you to do so. And this is the expectation. You got to meet it. And like, it may have been a breath of fresh air, Cody, like you mentioned earlier, maybe an offensive, like sometimes, Cody, you need somebody to hold you accountable. Sometimes people want to be held accountable when they feel like as if they're being like in the media, when your coach is saying, oh, I'm not going to call him out. We'll just have to continue to try to get better. Like that is just sugarcoating issues, right? Like, you need somebody as a coach, as somebody that you respect, like a guy like Jeff Saturday, to say, you're not doing your job good enough. Here's what we need to do. This is the standard. This is what we're going to do. And it's like, all right, we're going to do this now. Because now I feel like I can understand this guy. I loved when I heard that from Jeff Saturday.
Man. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. Like, it's just crazy to me that like it was almost to the point where Frank almost didn't like have any accountability for anybody. And it's like, how do you expect to compete if you're not like holding guys accountable? They preached accountability. They even took the whole offseason, right, to bring in these guys to hold guys accountable. And there was zero accountability for like the majority of this season, and it's just Jeff Saturday wasn't even here for a whole week. And he was able to get that out of the offensive line, but just calling them out.
Yeah.
Like that's what this team needed, man. I mean, you look at when this offensive line was at its best, 2018, Dave DeGuglielmo, as much as you can say whatever you want about him, this dude, I know for a fact, he held this offensive line accountable. He would call guys out. This offensive line has been on a progressive decline ever since DeGuglielmo was let go and Chris Strauser was brought in. Like, and the Colts need this offensive line. They need guys that are going to get in their face and challenge them and say, live up to the expectation. Like, you need to do this. When you hear it, it's different when you hear it from the head coach. It is. Like, it changes things. And when you hear it from a guy we talked about with the resume of Jeff Saturday as a player who's been there and done that, I mean, I would want to follow that guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You better listen to that guy, because if you're not listening to that guy, then I don't know what you want to do, right? Like, I mean, as great as Quentin Nelson is, like, again, Nelson don't have anywhere near the pedigree that Jeff Saturday's had as a player yet. Like, I mean, that is a man right there that has a pedigree that you want to listen to. I mean, if Mike Tyson walks into a gym and wants to teach you how to box and you say, oh, well, I liked it the other way. No, you don't do that. You're going to listen to Mike Tyson because it's Mike freaking Tyson, right? Like, that's the whole point. Right. And if Jeff Saturday tells you what needs to be done, then you go listen because it's Jeff Saturday. So let's continue listening here.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say is like you calling out the offensive line, like that's very much who you are. And that's also like Jim Irsay knows that about you. And I think, and we had like an open discussion whenever we learned that you were going to be the head coach. And obviously a lot of people are looking at me to chit chat about it because I know you well, I know your family well, and I know you as your teammate. And I'm like, maybe Jim Irsay had been scouting like Jeff, like, hey, he has all the traits that you would want to be an NFL head coach. Now we have an opportunity to have like 9 weeks or whatever to see how it goes. You alluded to that in a press conference, like, hey, I might be good at this. I might not be. If I'm not, I have enough self-awareness to be out of here. But if I am, let's go ahead and continue to do this. Did you hear all the conversation about you not earning this role and you not being prepared for this role? Even though you played 13 years for the Indianapolis Colts, you fucking were the person that handled the CBA negotiations so football happened again. You've been in there. You've kept in touch. You've consulted. Did you hear all that? How do you block that out? And what are your thoughts about future players maybe becoming a little bit more fast-tracked into positions of importance whenever it comes to coaching in the NFL, and you maybe being a blueprint for that, Jeff? Is that pressure?
Yeah.
Pressure? Or
no. Yeah, no. Listen, I love it. Part of the decision when my wife and I were talking about this and praying about it and considering it, I was at a place where I worked at ESPN where I watched, Boone go from, he and I talking about baseball on a Sunday night to being the manager of the Yankees, right? I saw, a ton of basketball guys come in and all of a sudden they are, head coaches at different organizations. And I've watched it. And the truth is I hadn't seen it happen in the NFL. I'm sure it has happened at some point, but, I wasn't familiar with it. And as Karen and I were sitting down and talking, I was like, babe, like, I feel like this opportunity, I feel led by God to do it, as we prayed about it and talked about it. And I felt very strongly about it. Like this wasn't a, I'm inconclusive about this. And me, man, as well. It's not just the job; it's the place, right? It's the who And I love this organization. This group changed my life, and whether it's Frog in the equipment room or T or, Hambone and EB and the training staff and the media relations, like, it's not just players and coaches, y'all. Like, this is an organization and community that I love. And so when I hear and ask of, would you consider it, it's emotional for me as well, that I love these people and I care about these people. I want to do the best for them, man. And if I can help in any way, and I felt like I could, and listen, you've known me. People don't know me. I do not mix words, and I'm very comfortable in uncomfortable circumstances. That doesn't bother me either. And so whatever position it is, I have no problem looking at someone and saying, hey, here's the level of accountability we're going to be at. And I'm good doing that. And I feel like that from a head coaching perspective, that's what your role is, to motivate the men, to direct the men, to give clear vision and concise and precise information, and allow all the other guys to empower those coaches to make them the best players. And that's my call, man. And I'm doing it. And as far as like people saying stuff, man, God's my protector, but he defends me. I don't know him. I haven't listened. I'll be honest with you. I think I sent you the text. My wife sent me it was like you and AJ and DB and man, I so appreciate that. But my family did a good job. They were saying, you wait till you hear. I'm like, I don't care if I ever hear it. Really, and listen, I got to tell everybody, I didn't call for advice, right? Like, I wasn't asking. So it's not going to change anything. I'm very convicted in what I'm doing and excited for the opportunity.
Did you ever in the past, and by the way, this right mindset, as we talked about it, I'm like, Jeff is the guy who bring in a little accountability in there, which is something you've always been. I mean, even when Peyton Manning's on the team, Jeff Saturday is a talker in that locker room, So I think we were all very lucky to see it. I saw Ed showing up for you yesterday.
Yeah.
Obviously, Reg was there. I mean, a lot of people very happy for you. So I know you're shielded and guarded. There's some shit out there. There's a lot of us that are fucking pumped for you, Jeff. Okay, you need to know that.
And that is this group right here. These two guys right here, and a lot of you that are watching are amongst those.
Moving on, had you ever talked to Jim Irsay about being a coach in the NFL? And why do you think Jim called you in the middle of that Patriots game and effectively offered you the job?
Yeah, so like from a coaching perspective, I had been offered a few times from different organizations actually, and so.
And real quick, do you think that if this was any other team that called Jeff in the middle of the season to be a coach anywhere else at any other position, he would have taken it? Or do you think it was just because it was Indianapolis?
So, right? No team gave him his shot. I mean, you remember undrafted free agent. The Colts gave him his shot, man. And he took the most of it. So, no, I don't think so.
I don't believe so either. I honestly think that if any other team called him about any other position coach or anything at all, he would probably not have been as quick to say yes. I think it was just due to the fact that it was Indianapolis and, like he said, how much he cares about this team.
But my role as a consultant here the last couple of years, I was helping Frank and Strauss, the O-line coach, and just having conversations with those guys. But like this year in particular, the first call that I got from Jim during the game that everybody made such a big deal about was literally just about sacks. And the funny thing was, I wasn't even watching the game. I was prepping for ESPN, so I wasn't going to get to the Colts until they were at 7 p.m. on my schedule, right? So I forget what games I was watching, but he's like, what's going on with our line? We got minus something yards, and I don't even know when it was in the game. And I said, Jim, man, I can't even see it. I said, I'm not even to there yet. So I don't know what's happening. I can't help you at all as far as that. But he was obviously frustrated. But as my role from consulting, this wasn't the first time I had talked to Frank or Chris, who's the O-line coach, or Jim, about things that were going on and how to solve problems. So I think that was just the familiarity part of it. As far as the coaching side of it, none of that happened until much later in the evening, really late, because Irsay keeps way different hours.
He's not
than I keep. Dude. I'm 2 hours away from getting on a plane to go back to work, and so when I look at all of it, man, the ability to be able to come in and help, that was my biggest thing. But it was when the fire was going on and the chaos was going on in the game against New England, I really had no answer because I couldn't see it.
That's regional. That's a live in the
Exactly.
area. It's tough.
I was watching the Falcons.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up. It is very difficult to keep up. We're talking to Jeff Saturday, obviously the interim head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. Whenever you're walking into that first team meeting on Wednesday, you have a familiarity with the guys, right? Because you had been consulting with them. What is your mindset? Because everything you do now is setting a precedent of your era, right? Did you have that? Was that a conscious thought? And what was your message, your overwhelming message to the team throughout the week?
Yeah. So, and again, I'm very process driven. So I walked in, I told them who I was. I told them, why I was here, and basically kind of laid out what I just told you about. I care, and I care about you and your families. I've sat in your seat. I talked about the coaching staff and how hard I know they work and how much they sacrifice their time, energy, and effort. I talked about the rest of the building and why all those guys and people that I know, front office, everybody. And then I talked about how we're going to go. How do we go, and then what my role was. And I was very specific, man. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I've never been the smartest. I've never been the most talented. I've never been the most anything, right? I'm not, and I don't have to be, right? I know I can surround myself with people who are that and who I can empower. And I'm not, again, that doesn't make me insecure, right? It doesn't make me insecure that I don't have every answer. But I will tell you this, I will pursue it. If you give me and that's what I ask my coaches. Is there something I can do to help you? Is there some area? Is there some film? Is there some question that I can go get answered for you? I believe in being a servant leader, and that's my mentality for those guys. And I told all of them, man, I'm going to ask of you the same that you ask of me. Whatever you can do to help, do it. Whatever I can. We're in this thing together, man. We're rowing, and I love the guys here.
Yeah, I loved the hell out of that answer because, again, everyone was always up in arms, Cody, about how, the fact that he's not qualified, right? He's never coached before. He doesn't understand how it works, this and that, right? That was the common thread of everyone in the media saying, Jeff Saturday should not have this job because he's not as qualified as other people who are in other buildings, right? Or even in the same building that he's at, right? And, he said it like, I'm not insecure and I'm not dumb. I understand that I'm not the smartest guy in this room. I know I'm not the smartest guy that's ever taken on this position, but I surround myself with people who will help me find those answers and be able to find a way to make it to where this team wins. I love that answer, man. I can't even tell people just how much I appreciate a guy like that coming into this situation where people were doubting his ability to do anything and he's able to give an answer like that.
And a stark contrast from the previous head coach where, dude, he was literally not willing to give up the plays. It almost was like he had that I'm the smartest guy in the room mentality. That's what it felt like, where he never would come out and say it, but Jeff Saturday, he's not trying to outsmart people. He's just trying to work together as a team and figure it out. And I do wonder if there was that disconnect there between Frank Reich, Marcus Brady, and this offensive staff. I mean, we saw it even this year. It's maybe it wasn't as a collective effort, as it should have been. And that's why there was so much dysfunction everywhere, on this team. And Jeff Saturday comes in and he says, man, let's work together. Let's make this a collaborative effort. I'm never going to say I'm the smartest guy in the room. I've had to work for everything I've been given. I've had to work for it. And that's the mentality I want this team to have. And that is a mentality. Honestly, Derek, I think this team was too spoiled and too high on itself for so many years. That's why we saw what we saw the end of last year. That's why we saw what we saw this year is, this team wasn't willing to work for a while. They didn't have that pressure to earn everything that they were given.
Yep.
And that's what Jeff's doing, man. That's the culture that he's already starting to build in Indianapolis. And that's a far cry from what they've had, especially this year.
100%, man. Let's keep going. We got a few more minutes of this.
Hell yeah, big time win against the Raiders. The team started out hot. They looked alive. They had negative -2 yards against the Patriots. I'm sure you've seen the film in the first quarter. And it was like, how is this team? What is going on? They need a new, fresh energy. They need a guy that loved the building. I'm very thankful you got hired, even though, the talking point seems to be, oh, this guy's bullshit. Keep going, Jeff. Tone has a question for you.
Coach, I believe on Monday when you first came in, you said that Sam Ellinger was going to be the starting quarterback. What changed between Monday and Sunday and the decision to go with Matt Ryan?
And are you going to do that every week? Are you going to do that every week? Are you going to be like, because Bill does this, and Bill's the greatest of all time. Some people handle the injuries and reporting to media differently. Is this something you're planning going forward? I apologize for stepping on your question.
Yeah, I'm not nearly that sly, but I will say this: when I got here, he was injured. So my first day, so I go through Monday and Tuesday. He's on the IR, on the injury report, and then Wednesday he doesn't practice. So, and then I asked him Wednesday afternoon, like when he was going to get back to it, and so he's like, I'm actually going to try to start throwing. And then I watched him come out Thursday, and the dude was zipping it. And so I asked the staff, I was like, is this typical? Like, is this a typical? And they said this is what it was. And I had a great conversation with Sam, and I've told everybody in this building, the best 11 are going to play, and the ones that I feel like are going to give us the best chance to win, those are going to play. And I'll make the final decision on what that is. If you have an issue, please come see me. We'll have those discussions. But in interest of all 53's benefit, that's what I feel like that the head job requires. And so I talked to Sam about it. I love the kid. I love his heart. And you saw, like, chaos is coming, man. When you got a young quarterback, a young play caller, a no experience, god awful head coach, however you want to describe
God
it.
awful,
Like whatever the words are. A guy who has done this a long time. I felt very secure in Matt. And man, let me tell you, he had a great week of practice, and the guys, all the leaders, man, Buck, Z, Matt, all the guys, really Q, they all stepped up in major ways. And so I decided to make that call. I knew on Friday what I was going to do, or what, but I wanted to make sure everybody else was on board, that had any kind of skin in the game, just to be kind. But again, that was going to happen. And Matt obviously played fantastic.
And we'll end it with that part right there. But yeah, on that last note before we end this, talking about the Matt Ryan decision, everyone was kind of confused by that, and that's another thing, Cody, that I think we could hear the dissent, right? And we've kind of said it behind closed doors. There's a couple reasons why we felt like something like this seems a little fishy. And we can maybe discuss that for a later video. We're not going to get conspiracy theory stuff in here right now. But obviously, Jeff Saturday said it. I'm going to feel the most comfortable putting the guys in who I think is going to give us the best chance to win. And of course, Sam Ellinger was thrown into an impossible situation, right? We'd said it before, and Matt Ryan was even thrown into an impossible situation with the way the offensive line was playing. But we felt like there was maybe disconnect with how this quarterback situation was handled. But yes, Matt Ryan coming in, being a true professional, and even Quentin Nelson said it after the game, said that, Matt Ryan is an incredible leader. He said he took everything that has happened over the last several weeks like an absolute champ. Said when he got demoted, he didn't cry about it. He spent every single moment in that building with Sam Ellinger, figuring out the best way possible to make Sam Ellinger the best version of himself. And then when, he said when he was in the weight room, he was talking to him. In the film room, he was talking to him. On the field, he was talking to him. When they're hanging out in the locker room, he's talking to him. So he's trying to do everything. He said, that is a guy that we want to block our hardest for. Like, that is the guy in Matt Ryan. it just goes to show you how much Matt Ryan has actually inspired this locker room. It's just unfortunate that now it's now week 10 before we can finally start seeing this kind of emotion and this kind of feeling towards this situation finally coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah, Matt's a true pro. Really excited that he was able to step in there and do what he did. I mean, yeah, it was honestly a puzzling thing whenever it did happen. When he did get benched, we're just like, oh, okay, wow. But yeah, great to see him come out there, have a good game. And, maybe this team can build some confidence together now. And I'm glad that this offensive line now is excited to block, for their 37, 38-year-old quarterback. True professional. Love how he handled just everything with this. So, yeah, just excited to see what they can do here, man, in the coming weeks and what they can build off of this performance.
Absolutely. So shout out again to the Pat McAfee show. Him and the boys do a fantastic job. Fantastic interview with interim head coach Jeff Saturday. Really awesome there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on that, and be sure to go subscribe to Pat McAfee if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much. And as always, go Colts. What's going on, everybody? Today, I wanted to talk to you about our sponsor, BetStamp. Now, I know what you're thinking. Derek, another betting app? What is so different about this one now? Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm not into online gambling a whole lot and bets online and everything, but I got to tell you, BetStamp is one of the coolest things I have ever seen in regards to betting online. The great thing about BetStamp is it allows you to see all the different odds from all different sports books and see which one provides you the best odds possible for any game or scenario you want to bet on for your pick versus some of the worst. BetStamp allows you to also buy and sell picks that you have without worrying about losing your money or having any issues with it. Believe me, it's all free. I mean, look at this, guys. You have an option for every game across all different kinds of leagues in a ton of different ways. You have baseball, you have college football, UFC, NBA, and NFL. Great for the NFL season now being here. And if I wanted to bet on this Tennessee Titans versus Buffalo Bills game, it shows me in real time what are the best odds, which sports book I'm going to get the best offer from versus some of the worst ones. Because why would you want to earn less money from PointsBet when you could be winning more from ProLine Plus? Again, a great thing that BetStamp offers you, allowing you to make more money for the same pick just with a different sports book. How easy is that? And the great thing is there's not just games. There's player props. There's game props. There's lines. There's live tracking. There's a ton of great ways to make bets and picks on BetStamp, guys. Totally a cool thing to use. I highly encourage you to check it out if you're into any kind of online betting. Even if you're not, give it a check. See what you like about it, because I think I actually enjoy using it. But the best way to get an edge on online sports betting is having multiple accounts at different sports books. Be sure to hit the BetLink page, betstamp.app/onboarding. Be sure to check out the BetStamp app or online, and be sure to use the referral code JUICE, plug in your state, and you'll get access to all their affiliates and their prices once you open it up, seeing all states' lines. Be sure to check this out, guys. You won't want to miss it for the best odds on your next sports bet.